Shadows of Freedom. Chapter 1. The Cobblestone Clues. Detective Inspector Captain Samuel Wyndham leaned against the lamppost, his breath visible in the chilly December air. The narrow alley reeked of spices and desperation. Calcutta, the city of contradictions, held secrets in its every crevice. The year was 1923, and India simmered with anticipation. The echoes of the Amritsar massacre still reverberated through the streets, leaving scars on the collective memory. Wyndham's weary eyes scanned the cobblestones, seeking answers hidden amidst the shadows. His partner, Sergeant Surendranath Banerjee, stood nearby, his gaze equally intent. Surrender not, as they affectionately called him, was a man of quiet resolve. His loyalty to the crown wavered at times, but his commitment to justice burned unwaveringly. The murder had occurred just hours ago. A prominent merchant lay lifeless, his opulent turban askew, and a ruby-studded dagger plunged into his heart. The weapon bore no fingerprints, and the room smelled of sandalwood, a scent that clung to the elite like a second skin. Wyndham knelt beside the body, examining the crimson pool seeping into the cracks between the stones. The victim's eyes held fear, betrayal etched into their depths. Who would kill a man of such influence? And why? Calcutta's elite whispered in hushed tones about princely rivalries, clandestine affairs, and hidden agendas. The merchants' connections spanned the subcontinent, each thread a potential lead. Wyndham knew that in this labyrinth of intrigue, even the cobblestones held secrets. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows, Wyndham vowed to unravel the truth. He had faced war, deceit, and the ghosts of his past, but this case felt different. It pulsed with the heartbeat of a nation yearning for change. Surendranath stepped forward, his notebook in hand. "Sir," he said, his voice steady, "we must tread carefully. The merchant's death is a ripple in a vast pond. The currents run deep." Wyndham nodded. "Agreed. But we'll follow those currents, no matter where they led. The cobblestones may hide clues, but they won't keep their secrets forever." Together, they ventured deeper into the alley, past spice stalls and beggars huddled for warmth. The city's pulse quickened, the scent of revolution hung in the air. Wyndham wondered if the merchant's murder was a warning, a harbinger of greater upheaval. As lamplight flickered, casting elongated shadows, Wyndham glimpsed a figure darting into a side passage. Instinct propelled him forward, adrenaline surging. He followed the footsteps, past crumbling walls and faded murals, until he emerged into a hidden courtyard. There, beneath a gnarled banyan tree, stood a woman. Her sari was the color of midnight, and her eyes held both sorrow and defiance. She clutched a letter, a missive that could alter destinies. "Why?" Wyndham asked, his voice echoing off the walls. "Why kill the merchant?" The woman's lips trembled. "For freedom," she whispered. "For a nation awakening." And so began a tale of betrayal, sacrifice, and redemption, a story etched into the cobblestones of Calcutta. As Wyndham and Surendranath unraveled the threads, they discovered that justice was a fragile web, delicate as dukest silk. In the heart of the city, where history collided with destiny, they vowed to uphold the truth. For Calcutta, for India, and for the shadows of freedom that danced upon the cobblestones. And so, Detective Inspector Captain Samuel Wyndham leaned against the lamppost, his breath visible in the chilly December air, ready to chase down the next clue, wherever it might lead. Chapter 2. Threads of Betrayal. The woman's eyes held a lifetime of secrets. Wyndham studied her, the lamplight casting shadows across her face. "Freedom," she had whispered, and he wondered what price she had paid for it. Her name was Anjali, a name that tasted of saffron and rebellion. She clutched the letter, a fragile parchment that bore inked promises and coded messages. Wyndham recognized the emblem, a lotus entwined with a quill. The symbol of a clandestine movement. Why? He asked again, his voice low. Why kill the merchant? Anjali's gaze flickered toward the banyan tree. Its roots dug deep into the earth, anchoring stories of defiance and sacrifice. He was no ordinary merchant, she said. His wealth funded oppression. His silence echoed across the Ganges. Wyndham leaned closer. And this letter? What does it reveal? She hesitated, then unfolded the parchment. Wyndham's Bengali was rusty, but he deciphered the words, a call to arms, a rendezvous at the Havja bridge, and a name, Rajendra Singh. Who is Rajendra Singh? Wyndham asked. Anjali's fingers trembled. A poet, she said, a poet who weaves verses into rebellion. His words ignite hearts, and his silence speaks louder than cannons. The cobblestones seemed to pulse beneath Wyndham's boots. Rajendra Singh, a poet with ink-stained fingers and fire in his veins. A man who dared to dream of a free India, where the lotus bloomed without fear. Surendranath stepped forward, his notebook ready. We must find him, he said. He holds the threads that bind this web of intrigue. Wyndham agreed. They would follow the cobblestone clues, chase whispers through tea houses and opium dens. Calcutta's underbelly would yield its secrets, the beggars who knew too much, the courtesans with hidden agendas, and the merchants who traded in more than silks. As they left the courtyard, Anjali's eyes followed them. Remember, she said, freedom is a flame that burns brightest in the darkest alleys. And so, Detective Inspector Captain Samuel Wyndham embarked on a new chapter, a chapter where loyalty wavered and justice blurred into shades of grey. The cobblestones whispered, and he listened, their secrets etched into his soul. Chapter 3, Whispers of Revolution. The Havja Bridge loomed ahead, its iron lattice casting intricate patterns against the moonlit sky. Wyndham and Surendranath stood at its threshold, their breaths forming clouds in the chilly night air. Rajendra Singh awaited them, a poet who wielded words like a double-edged sword. The bridge was a conduit between worlds, the bustling city on one side, and the murky waters of the Hooghly River on the other. Wyndham's footsteps echoed, each reverberation a heartbeat. He wondered what secrets the bridge had witnessed, lovers' trysts, clandestine meetings, and now, perhaps, revolution. Anjali had vanished into the labyrinth of Calcutta, leaving them with the letter. Rajendra Singh's verses danced within its folds, urging them forward. Wyndham's fingers traced the inked lotus, the symbol of hope, rebellion, and sacrifice. As they crossed the bridge, the city transformed. The scent of jasmine mingled with the tang of salt water. Wyndham glimpsed shadowy figures, the dispossessed, the dreamers, and the disillusioned. They moved like phantoms, their eyes reflecting hunger and defiance. Rajendra Singh awaited them in a crumbling haveli by the river bank. The poet's room smelled of incense and ink. His eyes held the weight of 1,000 verses, the longing for a free India, where the sun would rise unshackled. Detective Wyndham, Singh said, his voice a melody. Surrender not. You seek answers. Wyndham nodded. Why kill the merchant? Singh's gaze pierced him. The merchant was a puppet master, he said. His wealth fueled oppression, his silence stifled rebellion. His death is a requiem for justice. Surendranath flipped open his notebook. And this movement, he asked. The lotus and quill. It blooms in whispers, Singh replied. A network of poets, artists, and revolutionaries. Our verses ignite hearts, our silence speaks louder than cannons. Wyndham leaned against the window, the river's dark expanse stretching beyond. "What do you want, Singh?" "Freedom," Singh said. "Not just from British rule, but from our own demons. Calcutta is a cauldron, a fusion of cultures, contradictions, and courage. We weave rebellion into dhajals, paint dissent on crumbling walls." Outside, the city stirred. The Hawija Bridge pulsed with secrets, the cobblestones whispering tales of sacrifice. Wyndham wondered if justice was a mirage, shimmering in the distance. Surendranath's pen scratched across paper. "The merchant's murder," he said. "It's a thread in a larger tapestry." Singh nodded. "Threads of betrayal, woven by princely rivalries, colonial intrigues, and hidden alliances. The cobblestones hold memories, the blood spilled, the footsteps of those who dared." Anjali's face haunted Wyndham. "She risked everything," he said. "For freedom." Singh's eyes softened. "Freedom is a flame," he said. "It burns brightest in the darkest alleys." As dawn approached, Wyndham made a choice. He would follow the cobblestone clues, chase shadows through teeming bazaars, and unravel the web of intrigue. Justice was elusive, but he would grasp it, even if it meant defying empires and rewriting history. And so, Detective Inspector Captain Samuel Wyndham stepped back onto the Hawija Bridge, its lattice a testament to resilience. The lotus quivered in the wind, whispering promises of a new dawn. Chapter 4: Unveiling the Truth. As the first light of dawn filtered through the dense fog that hung over Calcutta, Detective Inspector Captain Samuel Wyndham and Sergeant Surendranath Banerjee found themselves standing at the edge of the Hawija Bridge, contemplating the events of the past night. The whispers of revolution still echoed in the air, but amidst the chaos, they knew their duty lay in uncovering the truth behind the murder that had set this chain of events in motion. With determination etched on their faces, they retraced their steps back into the labyrinthine streets of the city, following the cobblestone clues that led them deeper into the heart of Calcutta's secrets. Their investigation took them to the opulent mansions of the elite, where they encountered deceit and betrayal lurking behind every gilded facade. They questioned suspects and sifted through alibis, but the truth remained elusive, slipping through their fingers like grains of sand. It was during a chance encounter with a street urchin that their breakthrough finally came. The young boy, with fear in his eyes and hunger gnawing at his belly, told them of a shadowy figure he had seen fleeing the scene of the crime, a man with a scarred face and a sinister grin. Armed with this new lead, Wyndham and Banerjee combed through the city once more, their determination unwavering. They ventured into the darkest alleys and the most treacherous corners, following the trail of breadcrumbs left behind by the elusive murderer. Their pursuit led them to a dilapidated warehouse on the outskirts of the city, its crumbling walls a testament to the passage of time. With caution in their hearts and pistols at the ready, they entered the building, prepared to confront the darkness that lurked within. What they found inside was a scene of betrayal and desperation, a den of thieves and cutthroats, each one with a story to tell and a price on their head. Among them stood a man with a scarred face, his eyes filled with a mixture of defiance and resignation. As Wyndham and Banerjee approached, the man's facade crumbled, and he confessed to the crime that had brought them here. He spoke of debts unpaid and promises broken, of a life consumed by greed and ambition. But as he spoke, another figure emerged from the shadows, a woman with eyes as cold as steel and a smile that sent shivers down their spines. She revealed herself to be the true mastermind behind the murder, pulling the strings from behind the scenes with a cunning that left Wyndham and Banerjee stunned. In the end, justice prevailed, and the murderer was brought to account for their crimes. But as Wyndham and Banerjee returned to the streets of Calcutta, they knew that the shadows of betrayal would always linger, waiting to strike again when least expected.